Well, hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on news up here at Tesawe Kanda, also live on Twitter on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, we have for you all you need to know about the late Gamanye's funeral, the processes, the rituals, and the specific places that will be affected by the restrictions on the movement and commercial activity on Saturday. That's tomorrow from 6 p.m. Stay with us. We're getting to it. As we're joined by one of the paramountcies tonight. Erratic power supply in recent times, coupled with explanations from the Ghana Grid Company, has raised fears of a possible return of doomsday. Tonight, we want to hear from you as to what the situation is at your end, where you live, and also seek answers from a member of the Energy and Mines Committee of Parliament. We also have an update on the situation. Stay with us. Also, we engage a security and counter-terrorism analyst on how to tackle issues of insecurity arising from especially some parts of the northern Ghana. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight. We're going to be getting into the issues here. As always, you're an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and X. Well, that's from us, Twitter. You can always connect with us. And let's hear from you, as always, here on Ghana Tonight. Settle for Ghana Briefs.
There was confusion at the Financial and Economic Court, one of the Accra High Court, as aggrieved customers of defunct gold dealership firm Men's Gold thronged the courtroom in anticipation of the hearing of the trial of Nanapia Mensah, popularly referred to as Nam 1. Police had to throw out some customers who were taking over seats meant for lawyers in the courtroom, even before proceedings could commence. The Ghana Grid Company, Gridco, says power outages in parts of the country will persist until commercial issues are resolved. According to Gridco, the current situation is not due to system failure or challenges with equipment.
The glitch in the value chain that has resulted in this regrettable situation. Until these commercial issues with the pipeline are sorted out, we will have some more outages. There will be further outages during peak time, which is from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m.
The floodwaters in parts of the Volta, East and Greater Accra regions following the Konsomo and Kpon Dam spillage has started receding, but residents have been cautioned not to return to their homes.
There has to be some environmental impact assessment by the environmental officers before if it is allowed before we can go back to work. But that we have not had any figure yet, any evidence to prove that yet. But that's a caution that has been thrown to us to actually remind our people that even as the water recedes, they should remain where they are.
The Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has announced that long-term relief measures for flood victims would be taken into consideration during the formulation of the next budget reading. Visiting some affected communities in the Northern areas, the minister reiterated government's commitment in protecting lives and property.
The issue of climate change and its impact, budgets have to be moving in that direction. So this, will be approached in a way in which we can look at the issues of relocation, etc., reclamation of the farms and the cages that people had for fish farming, etc. So it will help us bring a total picture to the budget.
A former Minister of State, Kojo Yanka, has attributed the country's economic struggles to extreme partisan politics, stating that the governing class has not taken practical steps to address the nation's challenges. He made the observation at the 8th R.T. Orleans Pobi Memorial Lectures in Accra.
Our constitution has borrowed a lot from American and French systems, and virtually nothing from African systems of governance. No doubt we are calling for a review every year. Politically, what it means to me is that the governing class has been too Eurocentric in their approach and attitude towards solving the problems of Ghana.
European football giants Juventus officially unveiled their academy in Ghana, with former midfielder Kwaja Samoa leading the project at the Smart Sports Center within Casa Trazako in Accra on Friday.
The experiences and everything that I've had in my career, we are not just here to build this and then go stay or live in Europe and then let it be there. I've devoted my time, as I said, from beginning when we started this whole project. I've been spending morning, afternoon, evening here because I know what we are doing.
I'm in visit3news.com. Coming up next year on Ghana Tonight, erratic power supply in recent times coupled with explanations from the Ghana Grid Company has raised fears of a possible return of Dumso if nothing is done about the situation. Tonight, I want to hear from you what the situation is where you live. Are you having electricity or you're having to sleep in darkness? A number of you have been sharing your experiences as we speak on our Facebook page. If you go on our Facebook page, TV3 Ghana, we have a question. We want to find out what's happening where you live right now and whether you have electricity or not. And a number of, in fact, close to almost 1,000 of you have so far shared with us your situation via the comment section. We'll read a few of them as we go on. But the Ghana Grid Company is saying that power outages in parts of the country will persist until commercial issues with the West African gas pipeline is resolved. According to Gridco, the current situation is not due to the system failure or challenges with the equipment. Jifa Bampo is Corporate Communications Manager of Gridco.
Public to plan, she notes that it is the duty of the Electricity Company of Ghana.
It's up to them to decide if they want to show all of us a timetable. Gridco has no control over that. It then becomes ECG's responsibility to manage the limited megawatts available accordingly.
The manager of corporate communications at Gridco noted that the current challenges are generation related and not distribution related, thus out of Gridco's control.
These outages experienced on Wednesday evening and Thursday are not a result of any equipment failure or system disturbance. It is a matter that is of a commercial nature, and that has nothing to do with Gridco.
Intermittent power outages were recorded between September 23 and October 16, with more pronounced outages recorded in the last 2 weeks.
Well, so this is a situation. In fact, a number of you have been experiencing these power outages over the last 72 hours and share your experiences with us. But Edward Bauer is the Member of Parliament for the Bongo constituency. He's a member of the Energy and Mines Committee of Parliament. He is joining us for a quick conversation on this. Mr. Bauer, thank you. Now, you've just heard Jifa Bampo of Gridco. They're saying that this situation is down to a commercial issue with the West African Gas Pipeline Company. You're saying that this is a purely financial situation and that government owes the West Africa Gas Pipeline almost $20 million. How come?
Thank you very much, Alfred. So basically, the issue is this. You know, ECG has, as per our arrangement in our power sector, where usually when you contract generating companies, like all the IPPs. The agreement is such that ECG has the obligation to provide fuel and then to provide also the services in transporting the fuel to the generating plants. And so usually you have a situation where when you take up all your, when ECG collects its monies, they will have to take part because the fuel component is in the tariff, the revenue they get. So they pay, for example, GNGC, Ghana Gas. Then they take part and pay for the transportation of the gas from, for example, if you are moving the gas from Western region to Tema, they pay for that. And then they also pay for the energy. That's why they pay for the IPPs. Now, so there is an outstanding contract between ECG and WAPCO, because WAPCO is the one that transports the gas from Abuaze to Tema. Now, at the time when they were signing the contract, WAPCO knew that ECG did not have very good financials. Their financial health was very terrible. And so they asked for government guarantee. And government elected GNPC to stand as a guarantor because GNPC has a better financial, their books look better and they have a better financial health. And so they stood as a guarantor. But what it simply means is that anytime the gas is transported from the Western region to the Tema enclave, it is ECG that has to pay because it's a liability of ECG because we all pay our tariffs to ECG. In fact, fuel is charged, the transportation is charged, and the energy is charged in terms of the tariff. So if I pay my electricity bill, I pay for all these. So it's ECG that takes it, and ECG then distributes this money. So over almost a year now, they have been invoicing ECG to pay the cost of transportation of gas from the Western region to Tema enclave. They were not doing it. So WAPCO then decided to follow on the guarantor, and the guarantor being GNPC, that GNPC has to come in and pay for those monies. Then GNPC also wrote a series of letters to ECG, telling ECG that, look, you are supposed to pay X amount of money. In fact, if you look at the invoices that WAPCO had given, the total invoice, the total indebtedness of ECG to WAPCO was around $19 million. GNPC went ahead and paid $2 million to WAPCO, hoping that at least they could use that to do a stopgap while they talk to ECG to pay the money. ECG was not paying. So WAPCO then wrote a letter to GNPC, telling them that they should inform ECG that by the 17th of October, if they do not pay the money, they were going to cut them off. They even indicated that, look, you do not need to pay all the 17. Remember that they had already paid $2 million, so it was left with $17 million. Yeah. You don't have to pay all the $17 million. Pay a minimum of $8.31 million, and we will still ensure that gas flows to Tema. They never did. And so yesterday, being October 26th, WAPCO decided to carry through their threat and cut the line, the flow. And that explains why in Gridco statement, they had stated that, look, we are, there is a supply gap of 550 megawatts because we have limited supply of gas to the Tema enclave. The reason why they have a limited supply of gas is because WAPCO has curtailed the supply of gas to Tema. And the reason for the curtailment is because ECG owes them a total of about $17 million.
Mr. Bauer, I've taken note of some of the timelines you've just put out. So on the 17th of October, that's when this notice from the West African Gas Pipeline was communicated to both the ECG and in fact, government for that matter. Because of this indebtedness, you're talking about some $17 million. Now, a number of people have called for a timetable because for the past 72 hours and more, the lights go off without notice. And so from where you sit as a member of the Energy and Mines Committee of Parliament, would you recommend or support the calls for the ECG for as long as this situation persists to at least publish a temporary load shedding timetable so people can plan alongside?
So that's what's going to be done. Because you see, and I think that Gridco's answer makes a lot of sense. They don't have control over the factors that will let power be stable. The reason being that it is an indebtedness by another utility. They are just the operator of the system, the national interconnected transmission system. That's what they are in charge of. So as and when power is there, they will supply. The question then is that the generating plants also in thermal need the fuel to be able to supply. They can't get it because there's a curtailment. And the only reason why the curtailment can be reversed is that at least the state must pay a minimum of $8.31 million as a guarantee to have the gas flowing. Gridco will not know as and when ECG will do that. ECG seems to have not to be worried. And you see, and I'll tell you this thing. Among the three utilities, that's the three functional zones, ECG seems to be a company that is over-pampered. It is over-pampered in the sense that anytime ECG is unable to pay its debt and then there's a challenge in load shedding, the whole country panics. And if the whole country panics, everybody has to come into help. And that is what the problem is. Alfred, today I made a point that, look, there was this thing, what we call the cash waterfall mechanism that was introduced. Indeed, it was at the end of around 2016, at the time when we had brought in ESLA and other things to retire the legacy debts. Then the argument was that once we retire the legacy debt, let's not pile new debts, because you can have a debt of about $2.4 billion. You remember that time we were talking about that figure. But once you want to retire this debt, make sure that you don't accumulate new or fresh debt. And therefore, ESLA was introduced, and then the cash waterfall mechanism was introduced. What is the cash waterfall mechanism? It is that, look, all the revenues that ECG realizes as a result of the sale of power is put in a general pot. Now, there's a predetermined formula as to how, these revenues will be shared. It will be shared among the generators. It will be shared among the transmitters. It will be shared among the distributors. It will also be shared among the suppliers. And usually, if you look within Ghana, it looks more like fuel comes first, the generation comes second, then you have distribution coming third. In terms of that is the hierarchy that they do. For some time now, ECG, the cash waterfall mechanism is no longer operational. And so they are unable to give these utilities or these, entities their monies. They can't give them their monies.
Right.
And so they are not paying these particular bills. Indeed, it was for that reason that a few months ago, if you recall, that the IPPs had threatened that they were going to cut off supply because ECG was not paying them, because the cash waterfall mechanism was not working. So if you do not pay, they will have to do something to let you pay. And that is the situation we find ourselves. So, look, I'm telling you that Gridco cannot give you when they will come. Those who can tell us when we will come out of this current challenge, which is the immediate challenge, is the government of Ghana. It's the Minister of Finance. It's the Minister of Energy. It is ECG. They can tell us, but Gridco can.
Right, but so all you're saying is that for this situation to be halted, this interruption or in power supply to be halted and this situation to be addressed, government needs to come up with $8.3 million at least to pay the West African gas pipeline some of the debt that we owe it, which you put us over $17 million. That's what has to happen for all of this to end. Then we have sustained power supply.
Yeah, so as we're speaking, if government can give $8.31 million to WAPCO today, this problem will be resolved, at least at the medium term. But the total debt is about $17 million. But if they can pay $8.31 million today, this problem will be resolved, at least in the meantime.
Will be resolved. Appreciate your time. I thank you very much for joining us. Edward Bauer is a member of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament, and then he is also the Member of Parliament for the Bongo constituency joining us. Now, here are some of a few pointers you should know about what's happening right now. And take a look at this. As communicated earlier. Shortage in gas supply is what is causing these power outages across the country. Intermittent outages were recorded between the 23rd of September all the way to the 16th of October. And more pronounced outages have been recorded in the last 2 weeks. And general power needs across the country is at least 3,150 megawatts. But the shortage of 650 megawatts was recorded on Wednesday, October 25. And the shortage of 550 megawatts was recorded yesterday, October 26th. Now, any shortage beyond 250 megawatts result in significant outages across the country, and that's what we've been experiencing for some time now. Now, worst affected areas during the peak hours are densely populated regions. Greater Accra, Central, Eastern, Northern region, and other parts of the country have been impacted as we speak. Now, main reason for the shortage is a halt in the gas supply from the West Africa Gas Pipeline Company due to the indebtedness which Edward Bauer has been giving us some details as a member of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament, over $17 million as we speak. And that's the reality of the situation we're faced with right now. The Ghana Grid Company Limited don't have no idea when this is going to end because they cannot tell us. And it is the responsibility of the ECG to do so. We haven't heard from the Electricity Company of Ghana as yet as to when this is going to end. But then we're also monitoring some reports indicating that government has reached a tentative payment plan with the West African Gas Pipeline Company to settle the almost $20 million indebtedness owed that company. And that's what we're monitoring quite closely to indeed get a few more details into this. A number of you have been sharing your experiences with us as to what's happening in your rooms right now. Sparkles Airway says, as for Tabora, we even slept in the dark from Saturday to Monday, and within the week, the light went off again. Thank you. Tema Community 22 are next. You say you don't have electricity as we speak. Thank you very much. Swami, Tafo New Road says 2 nights blackout and today 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. blackout. Serious doomsorization. Thank you. And Kwesi Webb says Barakesi, Ashanti region. Didn't the government led by also Bempa, you mentioned names and others that the previous government purchased excess power? What excuses are they giving for this time around? You say this one here says we take one our own this morning from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. This government never again, you say. And Nicholas _humble saying thank you. A number of you have also indicated that you have electricity in your homes as well, but this situation is quite widespread. We've got a lot of messages from the Ashanti region, parts of the Western region, a number of areas in the Greater Accra region as well. Thank you so much for sharing with us. We keep them coming. But coming up next here on Ghana Tonight, we engage a security and counterterrorism analyst on how to tackle issues of insecurity arising from some parts of northern Ghana. And that is what we've been monitoring for the past few days. If you recall, earlier in the week, the situation with some vigilante groups able to intercept a V8 vehicle with some persons who were described as national security operatives. But 4 civil society groups in the Upper East region are advocating for the thorough search and seizure of all light weapons used by feuding factions in the Boko conflict. The joint news conference earlier today, the conveners observed that the peace of the area is further threatened by the lingering chieftaincy dispute and the recent disappearance of 7 local cattle owners.
So we think that the killings that are going on and the distractions is to cease, to give peace a chance. Because as they do that, it affects economic activities. As they do that, it affects quality education, because it is reported over 400 teachers have left Boku. So where are you going to go? What is the future of the case? Yeah, of course, it's a conflict, and we do know when there's a conflict situation, people are fighting. But there are other people who are known or probably behind whatever is happening, because I don't think we manufacture guns. There might be people who are sending them there. So we are saying that they should look for these guns which are in the communities, collect them, and if they get them, find them to be culprits, they should let the law take its course and deal with them so that it will deter others.
Professor Samuel Atintono there, who also spoke at this joint press conference on the insecurity situation in the northern part of the country, specifically in this case, Boko. Now, let's go on to zoom down. Momoni Muftau is the Executive Director of the Center for Counter-Terrorism and Extremism Activities. He's joining us. Thank you so much, Muftau, for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. First off, I mean, how do these conflicts or localized conflicts create the fertile ground for extremist activities, especially in the northern part of the country?
Yes, so, it has a lot of implications, not just for Boko, but also between Ghana and Burkina Faso. If I'm right, in terms of the reference you're making, I assume that you're making reference to the videos that have been out there with accusations of arrests, arbitrary arrests and detentions, and people missing in the area. It is alleged that some elements within Burkina Faso are responsible for those situations. And to the extent that we haven't seen an official communication, either from our security agencies here or from Burkina Faso, it is a worrying situation that allows space for propaganda and for disinformation and misinformation that can lead to other, security consequences in terms of local individuals taking the law into their own hands. And we have to act on that particular situation.
It's a very, very important point to make about the situation where people could take the law into their own hands. But in a very different scenario, earlier in the week, we saw a vigilante group that has been established by the community to also look out for some of these extremist activities, identifying a V8 which was occupied by some persons who were described as national security operatives. They had weapons in there. This vigilante group accosted them, sent them to the police station for interrogation. Because of the fluidity of the security situation in the northern part of the country, how do these vigilante groups' operations really have to play out so that they do not in any way also come to clash with the Ghana Police Service that could create its own situation as well?
I think in some sense, there's some kind of fatigue with the security situation in the area. And there are some elements within the spaces who feel that, they have to take the law into their own hands, or they have to take security into their own hands. And it's largely because they feel that the security is not wholly in charge of the situations that are going on in that part of the country. And so you would find elements like that who feel obligated to set up systems like that, to check, so to speak, in their interest to protect themselves from exploitation or infiltration of elements who could ambush them. And so that situation calls for a kind of, response from state actors that ensures that the state is present, and active in all spaces that they ought to be present. And we are not seeing that yet. And that's why we're seeing these elements do as we're seeing.
I see, but you have raised concerns about the activities of violent extremist groups, especially in the northern part of the country over the period. What's the situation now? Has it gotten any better?
The situation in terms of the vulnerabilities for exploitation are very pervasive. They are present in many parts of northern Ghana. And when we talk about it, we need to talk about it in context. There are many pervasive situations of unresolved conflicts, chieftaincy conflicts, land disputes, ethnic conflicts that could be exploited by extremist groups. And these numbers, in terms of how pervasive they are, they haven't reduced. They have actually grown in intensity in terms of complexity. And so we are not seeing any significant shift or improvement on that front. We're seeing pervasive situations of youth unemployment that is driving youth into some kind of criminal culture within the local space. And so we're seeing, increase in armed robberies and other, criminal behaviors. I mean, if you look at it in the context of cyberspace, there's a huge illicit economy on the cyberspace, participated, by young people largely, and that is a big worry. We're seeing situations of inequality. We're seeing situations of rising tensions along ethnic lines in this part of the country, and that should be a big worry for all of us. And it's largely because if you look at what happened in the Sahel, the fact is that the terrorist groups are taking advantage of such fissures within the community to recruit local elements who feel aggrieved, who have grievances against the community, who have grievances against the state. And we're seeing that being transplanted here. We're seeing situations of, tensions along ethnic lines involving the Fulbe community and other groups that are characterized as minority settler communities. And this is very present in the Savannah region, is present in the Upper East region, is present in some parts of the northeastern part of northern region, including northeast region of Ghana. So these situations should, compel us to ensure that we engage in activities and interventions that are, intended at building what we call cohesion along ethnic lines to ensure that we build resilience against exploitation by extremist groups.
Well, Muftau, talk to me about the possible extreme situation if state actors don't act swiftly and urgently about the picture you have just painted about what's happening in the northern part of the country.
Well, in every security context, the state is the anchor. The state is the lead actor. The state has overall responsibility for security. And, some say that the highest law of the land is the protection of the people and their livelihood. So the state is the lead actor and responsible actor for security. In the northern part of the country, we have very vast lands that in the spaces that allow for possible exploitation, because those spaces seem to be left in the hands of local populations. And we're seeing those spaces that are, weaponized, that are exploited by extremist groups in the Sahel. And we do not want to have that happen in our space here. What we're looking at is the implementation of a program that targets young, vulnerable people, unemployed people, vulnerable people who could be exploited by extremist groups. And we are targeting them to educate them in terms of what it means to be radicalized and what the drivers are, the factors that lead to radicalization and violent extremism. And more importantly, how to, make them lead actors in terms of preventing the situation within their local community. How do you build a positive, committed relationship anchored around goodwill and support for law enforcement so that local community members are willing to, volunteer information to law enforcement agencies? And this is a product of what the National Framework for Preventing and Countering Violent Extremism put up by the National Security Ministry is. We've taken this project and implemented in line with that framework to ensure that we work together to prevent violent extremism in our space.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Momone Muftau, Executive Director of the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Coming up next, we have all you need to know about the late Gamanye's funeral, the processes, the rituals, and the specific places that will be affected by the restrictions on movement and commercial activity at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Right? A royal from one of the paramountcies will be joining us right after this quick break. We have a conversation, and we would end up with a conversation on the education sector as well. Stay with us.
Knows acrobato, and if you know acrobato, it means you know Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Who will be careful Endpoint one?
Chesena me ankasa me period na se problems wom ntina ma wo ho idea ma me papa chesena nya asem ketewa na me coin point no mo hwe me modam no mo hwe bibia na so mo medro a me fire no ene ma won kra me nu foforo kwa na mkwan mu a eba
and everything yourself
me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante ene ne ko Endpoint o mama nu nura ene ne ho idea watimi asori anante.
That's Endpoint for you.
Of acrobato.
Hello.
Hey, ohwehwe what che.
Okay.
A free bra wo di Endpoint wa dance
I'm a choir. Me Joseph Semanem Quay, and pass one of my Emranian, and a Magina Sabema. Now, let me fear for the one in Jarissa. You heard everything. I have secret. Endpoint is my secret. Endpoint homeopathic clinic. I'm free.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint as compared to other paint brands on the market. We take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo Superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Hello! Have you heard of the Franco air condition specially made to fit the Ghanaian weather? It has authentic capabilities, which is the original sizes ranging from the 1.5 horsepower, 2.0 horsepower, and the 2.5 horsepower. So if you are looking for an air condition to fit your homes, offices, schools, hotels, apartments, churches, it's Franco Trading Enterprise. For bulk purchases, look no further than Franco Trading Enterprise. Franco Trading Enterprise, the home of quality air conditioning.
When you have the extra bit of ambition in your heart, you also need extra bit of energy to come through. And for that, Rush Energy is the perfect boost to get over the line. Created in the USA and proudly made in Ghana. Thanks to the unique formula, you have the power of ginseng, the benefit of vitamins and all the energy of inositol, taurine and caffeine. Anytime you need to go beyond, Rush Energy will help you get there.
Everybody knows Acrobato. And if you know Acrobato, it means you know Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Who will be careful Endpoint one?
Chese na me ankasa me period na se problems wom ntina ma wo ho idea ma me papa chese na nyana sam ketewa na me coin point no mo hwe me mogya mu no mo hwe bibia na so mo medro me fire no ene ma won kra me enu foforo kwa na me coin mu a eba
and everything yourself
me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante ene ne ko endpoint o mama nura ene ne ho idea watimi asori anante.
That's Endpoint for you. Of Acrobato.
Hello.
Hey, Oshisho what che? Okay. A free bra would the Endpoint what dance. I'm a choir no. Me Joseph Semanem Quay, and pass one of my Emranian, and a Magina Sabema. Now, let me fear for the one in Jarissa. You heard everything. I have secret. Endpoint is my secret. Endpoint homeopathic clinic. I'm free.
I'm for PC SNU.
Hello guys, my name is Andrew King. This is Joshua. Together we are Kitchen Global.
In times like this, just look up on the hills and you know that you are not alone.
Yo, I say this is Black Prophet.
My name is Joyce Lesson.
Hey, what's up? My name is Adam Go-Getter.
I've come this Wednesday with joining Media General TV3 to do a relief concert. We're going to be performing for the flood victims.
I need everybody to support as we organize a relief concert on the 1st of November with TV3.
Join us for the Media General Relief Concert, a charity fundraising concert to raise funds to support the victims of the recent Akosombo Dam spillage. Together, we can make a difference. Be part of hope, be part of change as we come together on Wednesday, 1st November at 4 p.m. with chart-topping musicians and celebrities on the premises of TV3. Wherever you are, you can donate. Remember, no amount is too small. All proceeds will go to the affected communities. The Media General Relief Concert, where hope comes alive. Join us on Wednesday, 1st November at the premises of TV3. Donate now. Your support can light up lives.
Life can change in just one moment. In one moment, you have everything. The next moment, it's all gone. swept away by raging floods, your homes submerged in water, your means of livelihood gone. Imagine the helplessness, the impotence, and the frustration. Let's come together to put a smile on the faces of the Akosombo Dams village communities. Help by donating cash, clothes, blankets, toiletries, food items, and medicine to our affected communities. Contribute to the Media General 3 Foundation Dams Village Relief Fund. Cash can be sent through the 3 Foundation account, Zenith Bank Ghana Limited, Kojo Thompson Road, Tudu, or through the Momo line 05974333110 or merchant ID 120494. Let's show them that we care.
Welcome back. Now, nearly 6 decades of reign was marked with a sense of service and selflessness dedicated to the Ga state. As she goes back home to her ancestors, the late Gamanye, Na Dede Omaidro III, will be remembered for championing peace and unity.
Na Dede Omaidro can we be a himba.
The late Gamanye Na Dede Omaidro III was known in private life as Na Dede Abla. She was installed Gamanye in 1963 at the age of 29. During her 59-year reign, she selflessly devoted her life to public and voluntary service and championed peace, education, and opportunities for young people, especially the girl child.
She had a long reign in the Ga state supporting the Ga Manche and women. She was a mother for all.
She stood for peace and unity, not only among the people of the Ga states, but also all Ghanaians, and advocated a united approach to the development of her people.
Na Dede Omaidro, as we know, she is really a mother. Not only a mother, but very caring. He never disputes things. She is free with everybody. Anytime you wrong her or something, he quickly recollects you, then it goes on with you. Na Dede Omaidro is somebody who like peace. Anytime, anywhere she will be, when there is misunderstanding or quarreling here and there, he will make sure he will bring peace.
Na Dede Omaidro III was known for her charity work, and in 2004 she donated items worth $12 million to the Ghana Society of the Physically Disabled at the Ghana National Rehabilitation Center in Accra. Her achievements for the Ga state during her 59-year reign were outstanding, devoting her life to public and voluntary service.
She's a mother which, if you have a problem, you can go to her. And she served Ghana for only God knows.
Ekawa hishi ojogba ni no fe no mi ewu awonga ewu awona.
She lived at peace with all. She gave good advice. She was humble. In 2016, she left Ghana for the USA and stayed for 5 years. On April 14, 2021, she returned home and received a grand reception by a high-powered delegation. The Ga state has indeed lost a mother and a unifier.
Na Dede Omaidro can we be a himba.
Piece there by my colleague Portia Gabo. Augustine Tete Ado is royal from the Sempe Paramountcy of the Ghana State. He's joining us on Zoom. Thank you so much, Nee, for your time here on Ghana Tonight. Help us understand, especially the processes between now and Sunday, how things are going to play out.
Actually, we don't expect anything ordinary. This is the funeral of a prominent guy in society. I heard a few people saying that, oh, beer bars can go on to do their thing and play loud music and so on, but this is no commoner at all. This is the queen of the Ghana state, and we have to observe it in a different manner. Actually, although Accra is a capital, to say, and it's cosmopolitan with different people from different cultures and societies and so on, this is a land that also have its own natives, and they have their own customs. And as Ghanaians, we have our own funeral customs for ordinary family members and relatives, and then we have special funeral customs for chiefs. If we should go on to say, oh, people should go about their daily activities, it doesn't give some majestic or that kind of royal recognition to the one we are mourning today. Actually, in custom, we have to ensure that the body is protected. The family of the royal is safe, and then the stool is also protected. These three things are very key, and that is why security is important tonight. Because during the vigil, right, everybody would maybe converge to that place, and therefore there would be lack of security. Just like people topples democratic governments and so on, it can happen the same way, that there are other family members who are so eager to take the throne, right? So these things are put in check so that beer bars and all those people who sell along the road might go to their various homes to ensure that there is sanity, and then security takes over throughout the night of the vigil. And we have what we call pilgrims of the night. Those pilgrims of the night, this is a spiritual encounter with humans, and we believe in ancestral spirits, right? So our ancestors will come home tonight to receive her home, right? Our departed queen home. So we'll be expecting our ancestors coming home to visit tonight and coming with all the spirits to take her home. You know, in your Bible, Elijah and Elisha, if you are a Christian, right? Elijah was going, and there was this chariot of fire that is expected to come in. Elisha really wanted to escort Elijah. So this evening, we'll be escorting our queen. Right, and so everybody must stay home. The chariot of fire, whatever, the ancestors are coming home, and nobody must see them. And that is the custom we are observing tonight. And it's so sacred. Seeing them would be sacrilegious, right? So we have to protect that sanctity of the whole thing. So those who take them how do you call it, Asafuachame, and the servants and all that, they would take a procession through the streets tonight and do all forms of rituals for her, so that oath she has taken for the state would be abnegated. We need to abnegate that oath first before she's carried home by the ancestors. So rituals will be performed tonight, and then the oath will be abnegated for her to be free. We have to free her, and she will no longer bear that title. We will take the title and then place it somewhere so that she can go with the ancestors tonight.
Wow.
And that is what we are.
Okay, but what are the specific, you see, because you talk about the movement and the ancestors coming and all of that, the concern here for the many people, they want to know the specific towns and communities, and that's what a number of people are asking on Facebook right now, the specific towns and communities that will be affected by the restrictions on the movement from 6 p.m. tomorrow. Can you help us?
The areas to be affected, the Ga Traditional Council itself, right? It's I would say these areas would be the main indigenous communities. We talk about Gamashi, Polygono, Mamprobi, Choco, Jamestown, North Kaneshi, Kaneshi itself, Mataiko, Dansoman. The towns along the coast are the main indigenous communities that hold customary rights, normally for customary occasions like this. When we look at other areas in the Ga state, they may not be so much affected because they may be new and upcoming areas where the ancestors may have not settled, right? In the past, maybe when they came to Ghana, they didn't settle in those communities. But these communities have their own chiefs. And these chiefs may want their communities to also observe the custom. And that is also lawful. And they can do that if they want. But it is required of everybody to take cognizance of what is going on and to respect the culture and customs. Osu is a traditional council on its own, Lai is a traditional council on its own, but the paramountcy is here with the Ga Traditional Council.
Right. Okay. Well, I thank you very much. Augustine Tete Ado is a royal with the Sempe paramountcy. Thank you. For this indication. So we would all take caution. Really appreciate your input on this. Coming up next, a child born in the Adenta municipality in Accra today, like many parts of the country, is less likely to benefit from the free compulsory universal basic education and more likely to pay for basic education. That's what the Africa Education Watch has found out. And let's have a quick conversation with, in fact, because the more the situation prevails, the further Adenta and other urban areas with similar situations remain distant from achieving this SDG goals by 2030. Edward has been following this quite closely, and Kofi Asare, Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch, is joining us. Kofi, thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. What are the specific challenges that you identified in for instance, the Adenta municipality that is very similar to other urban areas with very poor education standards?
Yeah, so over time, our attention has been on how to reach out to poor and vulnerable populations in remote areas where poverty is endemic, and by extension, in rural Ghana and deprived rural communities. That has been the focus. But the reality is that as poverty continues to remain with us, the challenges of rural urban migration, keeps increasing. And as more and more poor people migrate from the rural areas to the urban areas in search of either existing or non-existing jobs, many of them, especially those who don't find any better job, end up settling in these urban areas and constitute or add up to the urban poor population. Okay, so even in middle-class municipalities with capacity to raise IGN for 14 million cedis a year, you still have a lot of urban poor in this municipality who do not have the funds to access private education. And that is why we see this trend as worrying, because this is not only Adenta, it is Arewaso West Wugon, it is AMA, it is Wejagbawe, it is Bon Katamaso. In all the urban municipalities, the trend is that municipal authorities have virtually relegated the duty of building new schools to the private sector. And because, of course, the private sector is always profit-seeking, they have taken advantage and are expanding. We are about 500 private schools in Adenta. Okay, and less than 80 or so public schools in Adenta. So they will always take advantage and invest. But the reality is that if you leave a constitutional mandate as bestowed under 38(2) to the private sector to lead, then it becomes an issue that that mandate will never be realized, because that mandate requires the service to be free and compulsory and universal.
Well, see, that's where the concern is, because if then the privatization of it, because of the lack of public investment, is still leading to this situation, it appears that clearly the challenge of the poor families living in urban areas not being able to afford education for their children will persist, is it not?
Well, basically, we all know that the right to basic education is fundamental. 38(2) of the Constitution makes it clear that it is the responsibility of government to make sure that all children of school-going age are able to complete, enroll and complete the full cycle of basic education. And related to that, Ghana has acceded to the Sustainable Development Goals 4, which also indicates that every Ghanaian child should have access to quality basic education with relevant learning outcomes and must complete the full cycle, regardless of gender, socioeconomic status, geography, etc. And that is the context within which the Adenta issue, like other municipalities in Ghana, becomes topical. I did watch an Action Aid commissioned the study, and the study sought to find out how the tax reforms that we've been seeing in Ghana in the past 5 to 6 years has impacted on the capacity of local governments to deliver education. Bear in mind that the mandate to supply basic education rests on district assemblies. The pre-tertiary education law indicates that it is the responsibility of the assemblies to build schools. Without building schools, it is impossible to deliver free, compulsory, universal basic education. And that is why I say that the mandate to provide basic education rests with the district assemblies. The capacity of district assemblies to raise funds from their little internally generated funds and invest in expanding access to basic education is constricted, one. And then two, it appears that basic education is a priority in most of the district assemblies, obviously because there are emerging urban needs, especially in middle class municipalities like Adenta and Tema.
I see. What should be done, Kofi, finally, to address the situation that you have identified in this place, which is not peculiar to Adenta alone, as you've indicated?
We see in the study that until local authorities begin to adopt innovative approaches in raising funds to finance education development by not overly focusing on internally generated funds, which I believe is not adequate, but rather should look at how to rope in the corporate sector in these municipalities. Because Adenta is a middle-class municipality. You can count the number of real estate companies in Adenta, start from Trazaco all the way down. And so we believe that there are significant investment in the private sector or significant firms in the private sector, including faith-based organizations, the churches and all that, who should be ready to assist the municipality expand access to public basic education by building new schools in underserved communities. In addition to that, we also believe that national level funding sources, especially GET funding, which has virtually become a dried pond, will need to be rejuvenated because the capacity of district assemblies from Accra Metropolitan Assembly to Zabzugu or Tatale Sanguli districts. The capacity of district assemblies cannot deliver free, compulsory, universal basic education in Ghana.
Kofi, really appreciate your time on this, and this is something that we're going to stay the steam on to look at what's happening in other areas as you've indicated. But I want to say thank you so much for staying with us on Ghana Tonight all throughout the week. We're back on Monday, but join me tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. for Key Points. With my guests, we would treat the key issues that are of concern to you, the Ghanaian people. It's going to be live on 3FM 92.7 as well. I am Alfred Ocansey. On behalf of the team, have a great weekend.
Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.